Emerging market currencies have weakened significantly since May. This has forced many authorities to respond. I have John Cairns, currency strategist at Rand Merchant Bank, on the line. So John, what is happening and what do you think the outlook is for EM currencies?
Yeah, so the big shock came in early May with all the talk of Fed tapering, put a lot of the emerging market currencies under pressure. Significant weakness right through to the end of June, but then since then we've had really divergent paths. So some emerging market currencies are starting to fight back, some continue to weaken, and as you suggested, this is the ones that have weakened have started to generate a response from certain authorities. So hikes of interest rates in certain countries, imposition of exchange controls, or in Brazil's case, relaxation of exchange controls. So where we sit at the moment, it's still really about Fed tapering. In other words, the winding down of quantitative easing by the Federal Reserve. The outlook for the short term is probably quite positive for emerging market currencies as some of the negativity gets unwound, but there's still a lot of uncertainty out there.
And now let's have a look at the South African rand. Can you tell me about the weakness we have been witnessing with this currency?
Yeah, the South African rand was the worst affected of all of the emerging market currencies. In fact, rand weakness started a couple of months before. It's actually been part of a trend that's been going on for 2 years now. And the rand is possibly the most exposed of any currency to the Fed tapering. South Africa has a very large current account deficit, is dependent on capital inflows, particularly bond inflows. So, yeah, the rand was very heavily sold, and that probably makes sense. You're getting a lot of market participants, though, now starting to question whether the rand wasn't oversold. We've had a 40% move in dollar rand in the past 2 years, and we're starting to see foreigners coming back into the South African financial markets. So the short-term bias is still for rand gain. The problem, though, is that the country still has that very large current account deficit, and the decline in commodity prices will continue to worsen that deficit. So it's very hard to believe that the South African rand could see significant appreciation from here.
And moving over to the rupee, this month it fell to a record low against the dollar. What caused this drop, and what sort of results are you expecting to see from the meeting with the Prime Minister to discuss the rupee?
Yeah, no, so the rupee has definitely been very badly affected. It is yet another emerging market currency that has been running a large current account deficit. So in fact, you could list them: Brazil, South Africa, Turkey, all heavily in Indonesia. India, all heavily exposed to the talk of Fed tapering. What is positive from India's perspective, though, is that it hasn't been so reliant on the bond inflows. It's more, you call it an equity currency. The currency is more correlated with the performance of the equity markets. But look, the current account has just been weighing. The rupee has been constantly weakening. We've already seen action from the central bank to monetary tightening effectively. We've had the effective imposition of capital controls in terms of the limits on gold imports. Now that's temporarily stabilized the rupee, so dollar rupee is back under the 60 level. But there's still a lot more pressure coming, and in terms of what the authorities can do is possibly more interest rate hikes coming up.
And finally, what sort of trends are we seeing with the ruble right now?
So the ruble is also a high beta currency. In other words, it trades when global markets are doing well, it does very well. When global markets weaken, it weakens. However, the story for the ruble is slightly different from the rand, the lira, the Indian rupee, in that Russia is still running a current account surplus this year. Well, it's been running a surplus for a while. So it's not that dependent on capital inflows. So the potential for significant further ruble weakness is therefore limited. Its trend in the short term will be following that of the general emerging market pattern. In other words, just representing the market fears about Fed tapering. So again, there's scope there for some slight gains. The current account surplus, though, is slowly being whittled away. So perhaps like the rand, the scope for significant gains is limited.
Thanks, John, for that. Well, viewers, make sure you also check out the Week Ahead interview today to gain insight into what to expect from some of the key economic events taking place this week. Have a great day.